to Ahead of the Herd, the GPS DairyCAST special production where dairy conversations are real, practical, and just a little bit of fun. I'm Peggy Coffeen from the Up-Level Dairy Podcast, here to kick off today's episode. And this time we're talking about resiliency, what it really takes for dairy farms to be ready for anything. We've got expert insights from Mike North from Ever.Ag, our usual banter, a listener mailbag, and our surprise Moo-stery Guest. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's get ahead of the herd together.
At Alltech, we believe agriculture has the greatest potential to shape the future of our planet. Every cow, every herd, and every farm plays a vital role in nourishing people and sustaining the land we all depend on. As a family-owned company, we share the same values that guide dairy producers: caring for animals, being good stewards of the land, and building a legacy for the next generation. As a worldwide leader in agriculture, Alltech provides solutions from the ground up, backed by science, and meeting your local needs with our global expertise. Together, we can provide nutrition for all, revitalize local economies, and replenish the planet's natural resources. Dairy is more than milk. It's community, stewardship, and a brighter future. Alltech, working together for a planet of plenty.
Welcome back to Ahead of the Herd, the GPS DairyCAST, where we talk about serious dairy business. Try not to take ourselves too seriously. I'm Paul Dyke.
And I'm King Hickman. And Paul, I think dairymen are some of the most resilient folks on the earth, right?
You mean like when they take duct tape, baler twine, and try to fix their vacuum pump, something like that?
Exactly, without uttering a word of profanity.
No,
right?
they're very, very quiet when they do that.
That's innovation
right
there. But seriously, the last few years have tested everyone's resilience. Volatile markets, weather, labor, feed costs, you name it.
King, when I think about resiliency, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's a good question. For me, it's like absorbing shocks, right? Feed spikes, milk price spikes, labor shortages, all those things. It's how do we get through those? How do we absorb that shock and keep moving?
I think it's getting through, but it's also being able to be agile. Like when the conditions change, to be able to change the strategy, to go in a different direction. So it's about surviving, but it's also being agile.
Right, and ahead of the curve. I tell my clients, resilience it's like insurance, right? It's for your whole operation. It's not flashy, but if you got it, you sleep better at night.
And I think it shows up in the planning. Farm budgets that are forecasting what they think the future might be or not be are better prepared. They can kind of model out what happens if this goes wrong. Prices go down, feed prices go up. How are we going to get through that?
Right, and another part of resiliency, I think, is diversification, right? We have to have a plan for when things are bad somewhere. It may be good somewhere else. So maybe that's cropping, maybe it's off-farm income, maybe selling power back to the grid from a digester. It's spreading out the risk.
Or just looking at prices ahead of time and using some risk management. Hedging isn't gambling. It's removing uncertainty.
And we got a great guy to talk about that today. And also a resilient team, right? You got to have your people cross-trained so they can pick up when somebody's gone. They can pick up the slack and keep things moving, and communication, of course.
I've seen farms where owners don't delegate. They're trying to control everything themselves, and they forget to develop the people so that they're ready when adversity comes.
Right. So today we're going to break all this down and then get into some expert strategies with our guest.
Hey, joining us today is someone who knows more about dairy markets than anybody else I know. He knows them inside and out. He's helped farms navigate more price swings than a roller coaster at Six Flags. Mike North from Ever.Ag. Welcome, Mike.
Well, good to be joining you, fellas.
Well, thanks for being here, Mike. Just to start with the big picture, when you think about resiliency in dairy operations, we talked earlier about that's not a word that we use a lot, but what did that bring to mind for you?
Well, when I think about the word, one of the things that comes to mind immediately is overcoming. And, certainly in our space, there have been no shortages of challenges, of unexpected turbulence. There's plenty of things that just kind of creep up out of nowhere and surprise us. And when I think about resiliency, I think about overcoming, whatever that challenge might be. But I think inside of that definition as well is embedded a little bit of planning, because it's difficult to be an overcomer if you've never thought about the fact that things could go wrong. And reality is you do have to spend a little time preparing to fully be resilient.
Mike, when we think about resilience, we think about the ability to recover, not only to get back to the same point that you were at before, but bounce back better. We've got a lot of things going on in this world, a lot of uncertainty in this world. How's that going to affect us here? What do you think?
Well, I think, as I look at it through my lens of markets and risk, ultimately we spend a lot of time with people talking about, how do we arrive at a break-even cost? What kind of buffers do we have? What kind of, shocks can we absorb? What are our goals? What are the markets currently offering? And as we look at the current stage that's set before us right now, we're walking into another big round of tariff unknowns and surprises. We have all sorts of what I'll call relational headwinds in the trade space among some key partners like China and Mexico and Canada. We're looking at a environment where the beef price is at the highest point it's ever been, and the contribution of revenue on a dairy from beef sales is unmatched in history, which has given us this buffer to be able to keep cows around longer and a reason to do it, which, in one way helps us and in another way hurts us, as we might be, reaching a point where we're overproducing milk. And so we're in this very interesting time where there's a lot of unknown, and we're staring at a milk price that for most dairymen isn't the flashiest they've ever seen. And so as we talk about these different forces coming together, there's a lot of opportunity here for people to show off their resiliency as we stare at the last half of 2025.
We were talking about the ability to pivot, the ability to have agility. What are you seeing this year in terms of how producers are pivoting? How are they preparing for the unknown? What can they do ahead of time to be able to pivot when something changes?
Well, I'm going to go back to the conversation around beef. I think as you've watched some of the enthusiasm around growing processing capacity, and you've looked at this, growing demand for protein, and dairy, of course, fulfilling a really big part of that. A lot of people have maintained a healthy optimism of the future and are really looking forward at expanding and, securing a bigger and brighter future, and maybe bringing another generation in. And so lots of talk of expansion, and as we've talked about this beef space being a big revenue contributor, there have been folks that have had to pivot through that to start breeding for more replacement animals and really start focusing on the road 5, 10, 15 years out, rather than the immediacy of that beef check that comes every month. And so there's been some pivoting inside of that to address some opportunities, maybe ahead of a coming storm. Again, back to that planning discussion, I think this is where we have to start looking at, what our goals and objectives are, where we want to be 5, 10 years from now, and build plans that address markets and needs at the same time.
Mike, do you think there's anything that could upend that beef market? Anything that could really make us have to pivot the other direction? Anything on the horizon?
Yeah, absolutely. As we continue to watch the consumer, we've been relatively amazed at their resilience in overcoming some of the sticker shock that we would otherwise, see them retract from. Spending has been relatively strong, but as we talk about the overall consumer mind space, they haven't looked at the future with a whole lot of optimism. So if we start to see some retraction from them, it doesn't take much by way of lost demand to suddenly shift ourselves back into what I'll call a balanced supply. And what got us here to these levels has been shortage, plain and simple. The other thing that could happen is we could reopen borders with Mexico. The New World screwworm has kept feeder steers from coming in. That represents about 3% of our overall inflow of feeder steers. Just by bringing them back into the United States, that could immediately bolster some big meat supply. And again, if we're seeing some shrinking demand by the consumer, you put those two together and suddenly prices could take a pretty quick hit.
Yeah, we talk about the consumer, and I read in an article, it was by the McKinsey Group, I think. They do every year they do kind of a review or what's the mood of the dairy industry. They interview executives, dairymen, all kinds of people. And they've talked about accelerating dairy's momentum with consumers. And it's a little bit what you were talking, how can, and that being part of being resilient, how can we do that? How do we accelerate that momentum?
Well, to be fair, I think we already are, King.
Yeah.
If you look at this wave of interest in protein-rich diets, dairy steps into that space so economically and so quickly and with so much versatility that we really have an opportunity to not fully own that space, but be a major influencer in it. And if you go back to Amazon Prime days, one of the biggest things that were of interest were health products. Do you know what the number one seller was that day? Premier protein shakes. As you look at that, I mean, think about the statement that comes from that. That's a major category. That's a major product that dairy obviously is completely and fully behind. And you talk about some of these trends and how people are incorporating protein here and there. That's dairy protein 9 times out of 10. That's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity for us to, not only capitalize on what's here and now, but to continue to perpetuate that momentum that you're talking about into other product lines and into, further development of that space.
Second one, Mike, we're thinking about is embracing technological innovation. What do you see going on in the dairy industry? What's gonna change our world? What do we not see coming that's gonna revolutionize the dairies?
Well, I think you're already seeing kind of the fingerprints of this, but as I interact with people outside of the agricultural space, and we talk about technology, a lot of people look at agriculture in general as kind of the last frontier, if you will, in terms of data, artificial intelligence, and new forms of technology. And, we've done a lot over the course of the last decade or two inside the dairy space to create and harvest data, but we've not done much to really go into the wide open spaces, if you will, of tearing that data apart and learning what it can teach us. And so, even as we talk about what we've been doing a lot here at Ever.Ag, we're really trying to dig into that with our clients to help them even understand their own business better as we talk about data and technology and efficiency, because frankly, until you've brought it all together and overlaid it and deconstructed it and reconstructed it, it's very difficult to even know what your data tells you. And so I think as we look at technology, it's going to be some things like robotics. Yes, we're going to incorporate some of that to accommodate some of the labor thing. But we're going to dive deeper into data science and understanding what lives behind it and inside of it to be able to take our business to the next level. That is going to be a huge, huge frontier for agriculture over the coming years.
And a hard one for a lot of dairymen to embrace. I see a lot of technology out there that they have, and maybe they don't use it like they should. They've got some data already that they don't use. Now we're looking at getting them even more data. And I heard a dairyman quote that these computers are, it's still the people that take care of the cows, and all this data and all this technology just helps us do it better.
That's a fact. I mean, for years we've had a lot of technology that's created data. The problem has often been that this piece of technology over here creates data, and we store it over here, and then this piece of technology over there creates data, and we store it over there. None of it talks. We don't know what any of it means, and really, we've bought a lot of technology, and I equate it to buying a sledgehammer to hang a picture. Like, we've bought all this stuff, but we've bought it and paid extra to have something we really don't use right. And so, that's where I think we're headed as we go down this path. We're going to use it right.
They have to adopt it. They have to be resilient.
Correct.
They've got to adopt that technology.
Where do you think AI is going to take us, Mike? What's have you been using it? Have you been playing with it? I know we all play with it on Google and other places, but how will that change our businesses?
Well, I think the reality of AI is this in most cases, in terms of most of the applications that people think of. It's a faster way to look at all of the information, right? I mean, if you were to try to look at all the data that comes off of a dairy and it was one guy and a screen, he could spend a lifetime. You plug it into the machine and throw some parameters around it, and it can do it in 30 seconds. I think that's where the benefit is going to come. Is it's going to create faster visibility to problems and opportunities. And so as we look at AI, remember we basically can only learn from the things that we already have. It's not quite there where we're going to start producing things that we don't know. It's going to help us unlock some things we don't know, but they're going to be found inside of the information we already have. And so, as we look at AI, I think no different than us putting robotics in a parlor, we're going to use AI to help, with regard to labor, look deeper into things that we have our hands on, but we just haven't got the manpower to really dive into deeply.
As we look at being resilient, it's harder and harder to attract good people. It's harder and harder to retain good people. And now we're looking at more and more advanced technology they have to be able to work with. And how are we going to be able to keep up with that, with attracting the right people or finding the right people? Is that going to be difficult for us, do you think?
Well, honestly, King, I think it builds on some of this conversation that we're having. A lot of really good people want to have good tools. And so as we, talk about incorporating technology, and we talk about using things like AI and, data science to go deeper into our jobs, there's a lot of opportunity in that to attract great people. I listened to a speaker this past winter when I was speaking at a different conference, and he was talking about the implementation of technology and how it elevates society across the entirety of it, from the lowest skilled laborer to the highest skilled laborer, and how it raises efficiency all the way across the labor pool. And I think as we talk about attracting that top tier talent, we're going to have to be employing top tier technology and top tier pieces of software and data science to be able to bring those people in, because they're not going to walk in to a business and say, hey, I realize that you're still on DOS, but I'm super excited about this job.
So what I'm hearing is being resilient is not adopting some of this technology and using some of the data might make it harder to attract good people than actually having it in place. That might help us actually do that.
Yeah, I think opening those doors and using this newest technology will also attract the brightest people.
Yep.
Yeah, we if we don't change, how can we expect to attract a younger generation who's been born in a world of change to want to come and join us?
Do you think we're missing out on some opportunities with young people that maybe are outside of our ag circle? I mean, should we be looking other places?
Well, I think the fact that agriculture is kind of the last frontier, as I mentioned earlier, is a little bit exciting. It opens doors of opportunity for people that might not be in what I'll call the traditional circles of agriculture, and that could really be a great opportunity for us. The thing we're going to have to do, though, is we're going to have to put ourselves out there and talk more about this openly with the public. We're going to have to do something that we're not accustomed to, and that is kind of bragging about what we do in agriculture. We're going to have to tell the success stories. We're going to have to talk about the big opportunities. We're going to have to showcase some of these incredible things that are happening and how we do this thing we call farming. We're going to have to get out there in front and tell that, and that will attract the people.
Well said, well said. The last part and the fourth part of this is finding new ways to differentiate on sustainability. Sustainability seems like to be such a big topic, and there's so many things that go under that umbrella. How does a farm start even tackling that topic? We know it's important. We just don't always know where to start.
Well, I think all of this is a bit related. As we understand our businesses better, it's easier to tell the story of sustainability, because the moment you start talking about, hey, I've been able to cut my water usage by 60% over the last 30 years. And oh, by the way, I've been able to grow greater yields on my crops. And oh, by the way, look inside of this thing that we call manure, at all of the wonderful nutrients in here and how we can, apply different components of that to fields as it needs it. Like, as we start to, dive deeper into some of the science around this, it gets easier to tell the story, because we all know the cow is the original recycler, right? We can take things that would be considered waste in some cases and move that through a cow to produce an incredibly nutritious product that satisfies a growing demand for protein. And when you can also weave in all of the different stories about environmental stewardship and cow care and the great lengths that we go to create this utopic environment in which we raise our animals, end of day, it becomes an easy story to tell. But people aren't going to take us at our word, right? There's been too much fake news and too many fluff stories that have been put out there. We're going to have to be able to show the science behind it. We're going to have to be able to prove it. And that's where, some of this data and some of this, use of science is going to be really on our side.
Yeah, I was thinking about your point about telling the story. I'm not sure we've always done that well, or maybe we don't bring in professionals to tell the story, to help us tell the story. Like, if we want to tell the story well, bring in people who are storytellers, and show them what we're doing, and then let them go.
Storytellers are great, but here's something that I often share with clients and others in agriculture. We represent less than 1% of the population, those of us that are immediately involved in agricultural food production. When you stop and think about that, that immediately makes you an expert, because you're 1 out of 100.
Yeah.
You're 1 out of 100. And so, the most, credible person is going to be that rare that's doing the job. And so, people want to hear from people that are doing it. And, this is where we all have an opportunity to step up and just open our mouth. I mean, can we get better at doing it? Yes, but we just have to start. And what's interesting is, even when we think we're failing and doing a poor job, most of the interactions I've had with people in the public that have talked with farmers, and then I was able to have a follow-up conversation with that farmer. The farmer thought they did a terrible job. The consumer was absolutely amazed. So should we spend some time to sharpen our skills there? Yes, because this communication and sharing, it's part of our social license as the 1% who grows the food. However, just know that the fact that you're doing it immediately gives you credibility where most others don't have it. So don't ever be afraid. Always be willing to share.
I'm going to go back real quickly to the sustainability. Differentiate yourselves on sustainability. And you look at individual dairies. Methane digesters they're going to differentiate any dairies anymore. They all have them, right? The dairies that are going to be resilient. They're the ones that are coming up with new things, and I don't know what those are going to be. But would you agree that they do need to differentiate beyond from their peers to maintain resiliency?
And I think what's great about our space is that we're always testing the edges. We're always pushing out to see, what is next, and what new thing can I do to challenge or change the things we've always done. And I love that about the people in our space, and I think that by itself leads to that differentiation that you're speaking of, King, and really, keeping around the subject of resiliency, it's that attitude that helps you get there. Because if you're not testing the edges, you can't explore the negative outcomes or identify the potential negative outcomes that exist out there. You got to always be pushing those edges, and it shows you opportunities. It also gives you a look inside of the potential pitfalls that live out there as well.
Really appreciate you being on.
Thank you for your time, Mike.
Oh, great to be joining you guys, and what a great subject.
With Alltech's People Plus program, we offer training that is customized for your farm and built around the specific goals of your operation. Our training courses are bilingual, as well as being highly visual and hands-on, making it easier for your team to learn, engage, and remember. The goal of every session is consistent: empower your people to move forward in their careers with confidence. At Alltech, we believe the people who work on your dairy aren't just employees. They're part of your culture, your team, and your success. Through People Plus, we work alongside you to ensure your team members are on the same page, moving in the same direction, and fully aware of how vital they are to the success of your business. These trainings are practical, farm-specific, and even fun, helping to build a stronger, more connected workforce. Because when your people are aligned, your dairy thrives. Alltech, working together for a planet of plenty.
Hey, King, before we open the fun segment, quick reminder, if you want to show your DairyCAST pride, we've got some great merch.
That's right. You can grab your own GPS DairyCAST t-shirt for $25, or we got some really nice hats, $18. How do they get those, Paul?
It's the queen of merch, Angel Horn, at GPSDairy.com. Angel Horn at GPSDairy.com. Let her know and what you're after, and she'll get you connected.
All right. Show your pride.
And now it's time for our favorite segment, Moo-stery Guest.
How do we know it's our favorite segment? This is the first episode.
If we're gonna do Moo-stery Guest like that, it's our favorite segment.
Okay. Let me help you guys out here. Thanks. So just in case someone didn't understand what you meant by Moo-stery Guest, it's your mystery guest. This is a person in studio with us right now who you know and who knows you, but you don't know who they are. So we get to play a fun little game. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's get started playing, guys. And the winner, the first, whether it's Paul or King, the first one of you to guess who the Moo-stery Guest is wins, well, bragging rights and, I don't know, new GPS Polo? Yeah?
I'm ready.
All right.
All
Let's go.
right.
All right.
Let's go.
Very good. All right. I'm going to go first. Is that all right?
It seems like an advantage, but go ahead.
All right. All right. Moo-stery Guest, do you have strong opinions about TMR mixed quality by any chance?
Yes, I do. I would say if it's not mixed right, I don't sleep well.
Ooh.
All right, let me try this one. Have you ever been spotted carrying a clipboard and coffee before sunrise?
Absolutely. Usually I have dirty boots on by that time. And I would say any day that ends in Y, you could probably find me in that situation.
All right. Have you ever given a rousing speech in a barn office?
Oh, mercy. That's one that I
Voice
tried.
sounds familiar.
I
don't-
tried to hold myself down, but sometimes my soapbox just gets bigger and bigger, and I climb up and I can't get off.
All right.
I'm getting closer, I think. Do people know you for asking hard questions and not accepting easy answers?
Absolutely. No easy answers. So, yes, especially I would say that's an opportunity for growth. That's what I try to instill in my clients.
All right. Along those lines, then, are you known for helping people level up their leadership game?
Absolutely. I prefer to say, let's inspire change and grow leaders.
It's
if you know
a
what I mean.
giveaway. It's a giveaway. Wait a second. Do you drive a pickup that's seen on more dairies than a DHI tech?
Absolutely. On the Road Again is my favorite song. As long as it ends with cows, coffee, and then throw in some coaching.
I think I recognize the voice. This has got to be Dr. Ed Krakis.
Guilty as charged, guys.
Very good.
Oh, that's
The double
right.
extra large, please.
Dr. Ed Krakis. King, what color's your new polo going to be?
It must be blue, so I match Paul, I think.
All right. Well, let's get Ed off of the soapbox and into the seats here in studio with us today.
Let's bring him on stage. There he is. The man of the hour.
Welcome, Dr. Krakis.
Welcome to the head of the herd here.
First Moo-stery.
It's impressive, isn't it?
It is. This is different than being in the barn or being behind cows, that's for sure.
We don't smell quite the same, do we?
No. Well, hello, guys. Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we talked earlier with Mike North about resiliency in the dairy industry, and you're someone who's been in the dairy industry for a few years.
Yeah, I'm an old guy.
So, I mean, you've seen it. You've seen it years over and over time, dairymen going through tough times. And so we just thought it'd be great to bring you back out here and just ask a few questions.
Ed, you've seen a lot, and we know that you've seen a lot, and we value that experience. Is there a time you can think about where you've seen families go through tough times and be resilient? Is there something that comes to mind or an example of that?
Yeah, I think of that, back in the early 2000s when the milk price was just in the tank.
It was 09 or something like that, wasn't it?
Right around,
Yeah, it was a tough time.
And I had two herds that were going through a generational transition.
Yep.
And they were a study in opposites.
Yeah.
And so I'll just talk about the good one. The other one was a struggle.
Yeah.
But the good one made a lot of decisions. The grandpa had left already, and it was two brothers, and then one of the brothers was going to leave, and so the other brother had some boys that wanted to come in. Anyway, we had a lot of discussions, standing behind the cows, sitting in the office, having lunch, eating donuts, whatever we did. How do you get through this?
Yeah.
And every plan that they had tried to put in place suddenly wasn't effective anymore. So they were very resilient. The employees on the dairy were very willing to do whatever they could to help, even though it meant 1 year they didn't get raises. But every Monday morning there was a meeting, in the office. I wasn't at all of them, but I was at quite a few. How are we going to deal with this? So my main advice, and which I was happy that they took, was we cannot sacrifice the cows. So we didn't change anything as far as treatment protocols, feeding protocols.
Yep.
Didn't try to cut back and drop what were considered expensive ingredients at the time. Just concentrated on cow comfort and keeping things going well and working along that time. They just never were willing to cut the corners on cow care. And they came out of it. They did really well. The transition took place and they took off.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about, being resilient, and it's about coming out stronger, but it's also being agile, like being willing to change some things during that time frame. Like when it's tough, being able to change and do things differently.
Yeah, and it's also about, well, that example, it wasn't just grit that got them through, right? They sat down, they made a plan. They talked through it. They implemented it week after week after week to get through it. It was so it was more than just gutting their way through it.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. There was a lot of conversations. The families were involved, and I wasn't the only consultant that was working with the dairy. So we had a lot of meetings and went through things and made a plan,
Right,
like you said. It
right.
wasn't just gut it out. Let's try to figure this out and how we're going to work through this.
It's great, Ed. Those are the definitions of resiliency, and we really appreciate your experience.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
All right.
Welcome to the sound stage. You're welcome to stay and have as much fun as you want. Keep working.
Keep going. Thank you, Ed.
You're very welcome. I guess I think that in our business as consultants, veterinarians, nutritionists, whatever, we need as much resiliency as our clients do.
Ah, that's good.
That's sort of it's in the job description, I guess. Whether we want to admit it or not, it's there, and we've got to deal with it too. So,
Well said.
Yep. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, Peggy, what's in the mailbag this week?
Well, I have a special treat for you. In fact, this first question is going to be a real stumper. It comes
All right.
from Lance from Wisconsin, and he is just burning to know, what is your favorite type of cheese, King and Paul?
You know what I like? I like Gouda. And I'm not sure I like it, the taste so much. I
Right.
just like saying Gouda. Yeah.
Well, here in Iowa, where we're filming this, most people would say Velveeta, probably.
You can't go with that.
I can't go with that.
No, that's not real cheese.
Yes, you can't say Velveeta in Wisconsin, but
Yeah.
I would have to say cheddar is my favorite. A nice, strong, sharp cheddar.
Aged 10
Aged
years.
10 years.
These aren't old guy jokes, are they?
What?
What? Huh? No?
I like a sharp cheddar, aged.
Oh, so
I'm not old.
a little aged cheddar
Aged cheddar.
and some good old Gouda. All right, well, we got another question in the mailbag for you. And this one is going to make you think a little bit bigger and a little bit broader about the future. And it comes from Jay over in Iowa. The question is this: in what ways do you see AI, as in artificial intelligence, not your granddaddy's AI,
Right.
changing how we dairy? And do we see a day when robots could be working on our farms? What do you guys think? Take it away.
I'll start with the robot one. We already have robots in a sense on a lot of dairies. We
Right.
have in rotary parlors, we already have the wands that are, and it's kind of like semi-automated. And I don't know if it's really a robot, but we have a lot of automation already on
Right.
farms. We think about, you got feed pushers, we've got automated systems for feeding. So I don't know if we're going to have robots that have special names like Sally or anything, milking cows.
Right,
but I do think we're going to have more automation as time goes by.
Yeah, I think so too. There's going to be, and integrated into our data systems, there's going to be more AI used there. And I think the bottom line, though, is it's all about taking care of the cows. And I think we need human interaction a lot of times to do that. I saw a dairyman quote that all this technology, it doesn't take care of the cows. It only helps us do a better job of taking care of the cows. And I think that's where AI is going to come in. continue to come in.
We already see some of it, and we don't call it AI, but we call them activity monitors. And we
Right.
say, hey, which cows are in need of help? And they do a better job than some people can
Right.
do.
Yep.
And I think as we kind of go down the pathway of employees coming from outside of ag, they're going to use AI, and that's going to be their tool in their toolbox
Right.
to take care of the cows. I think that's already happening today. Now, a deeper AI in terms of like, hey, how could I make more profitability on my dairy? Chat GPT. Well, it'll come. I
Right.
think. But the inputs have to be right in order the outputs to be correct. So,
Garbage in, garbage out.
yep.
Can I ask you to expand on that a little bit?
Garbage in, garbage out.
Well, here's a thought. Go this way if you'd like. But so AI is only as good as the information and data points that go into it, correct?
Yeah.
So, when you think about the next generation coming into dairies, whether they're from a dairy or not from a dairy background, and relying on something like artificial intelligence, what they may be missing is the ability to vet that knowledge based on experience. So this is pitch point for your consultants and years of wisdom is like, could AI truly be 100% reliable as a tool for management? Well, you still need those voices of wisdom to vet that out. So if you want to go there, maybe go there.
I think she did a nice job all on her own.
Yeah, she'd pretty
That was
nice.
great, yeah.
But I think when we think about AI, it draws on knowledge out there. If you go do Google AI and you ask it a question, it'll draw upon the resources out there. And if those resources aren't reliable or you don't have trustworthy data, and I think that we've really keyed in on that in the last few years, is a farm has a lot of data, but is it trustworthy and
Right.
real? I mean, it's great to have data, but if it's not reliable and it's not accurate, the conclusions are always going to be incorrect.
Very good.
Well, speaking of AI, I actually asked AI for some great jokes about dairy consultants.
Oh, please give them to us.
Yes.
Please give them
Can
to
we do
us.
it? All right. Okay, guys. Okay. How many dairy consultants does it take to change a light bulb?
Ooh.
Please tell us.
Okay. Here's the punchline. It doesn't take any. They just hold a meeting about leveraging natural light for optimized cow productivity.
Ba-dum-bum.
Bump, yeah.
Meetings, because
Yeah.
none of us is as dumb as all of us. That's
Oh, well, that's all we've got for the listeners' mailbag today,
all right.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Paul, believe it or not, that's it for episode 1. I'd like to sing a big thanks out to Mike North from Ever.Ag for joining us, and of course, Alltech for our sponsorship.
And for all those people out there, if you want to see us in person, we will be at the Leaders Forum this December.
Yes, it's filming live on Tuesday evening. We'd love to have a live audience for that one.
Don't throw things at us.
Yes, and remember, if you like the show, you are our best advertising. So if you like the show, tell a friend to join us next time. If you didn't like the show, tell somebody you don't like that much to join the show next time.
Don't forget to follow us on your social media, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you're doing. Leave a review and share it with your friends.
And between now and then,
stay ahead of the herd.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Ahead of the Herd, where we dig into the strategies to help you stay resilient, agile, and ready for whatever the dairy industry throws your way. Don't miss our next episode on sustainability, navigating dairy's future and embracing innovation and sustainable practices. And until next time, I'm Peggy Coffeen. Stay curious, stay connected, and stay ahead of the herd.
At Alltech, partnership is the heart of everything we do because we know the best solutions come when we work side by side with dairy producers like you. That's the foundation of our Forage Plus program. Together, we evaluate forage quality from the field to the feed bunk, using on-farm analytical tools like advanced aerial inventory measurements and detailed mycotoxin testing. By combining the knowledge of your herd with our team's expertise, we can uncover key opportunities to optimize your forage and feed programs. Our goal is simple: to make every acre, every bunk, and every bite work harder for your cows and for your business. Because when your forage is maximized, your dairy is too. Alltech, working together for a planet of plenty.